Let's take our most popular jacket, the Nano Puffs. A lot of people buy that jacket who just live in urban environments. They want to know that it's lightweight. They can ball it up, show it in their suitcase. But then somebody else is like, no, I know I'm going to be in Jackson Hole and I need something in particular and I need the fill weight to be this thing. And as I'm interacting or looking on the page can serve up these bits of information for me or allow me to go deeper down the rabbit hole and not just divert the other person who might not want to see all that stuff. How do you serve both those customers who are landing on the same page?
Welcome to LaunchPod, the show from LogRocket where we sit down with top product and digital leaders. I keep meeting teams across the country that are facing intense pressure to shoehorn AI into every feature, often without a coherent thesis on the problem it'll solve. But what if the smartest move in the AI gold rush is to actually slow down? Angela Clark, VP of Digital at Patagonia, is doing exactly that. At a brand known for its fierce commitment to the planet, Angela is applying that same intentionality to their digital experience. Instead of blowing budgets on every new AI tool, she's taking a thoughtful approach to building a personalized customer journey across an audience that spans both elite pro athletes and weekend warriors. In this episode, Angela shares how her team is designing a customer journey that caters to the buyer on a one-to-one level, including product detail pages that speak effortlessly to either extreme of their customer base. Her playbook for managing AI-related shiny object syndrome and keeping your roadmap focused on the customer, and why Patagonia flipped the definition of customer lifetime value to align with their conservation-driven mission, even happily downselling you to a refurbished item instead of a newer, more expensive version. So here's our episode with Angela Clark. Angela, how you doing? Good to see you again.
I'm good. Good to see you as well. Thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. Thanks for coming. Quick background, VP of Digital over at Patagonia, which is an auspicious brand to many people. It's done really cool stuff, both within clothing and conservation and digital. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about across the board is all those things. But maybe before we dive into that, because I know there's some really neat things we want to talk about, kind of customization and how do we build modern digital experiences for brands like Patagonia. Maybe you just give us the TLDR, like how did you get to where you are? What's the background there that led you to leading digital over at a brand such as Patagonia?
Yeah. So I probably had a very non-traditional path, which I don't know if there's anything traditional or digital at this stage, but I started in merchandising. My whole career has been in retail. I was really passionate about product design, physical products. And so I actually ended up with a business degree. I thought I wanted to be an investment banker. And I found the formula between my love and passion for fashion and my business acumen to be the perfect formula to be a merchandiser and buyer. So I kind of grew up through the ranks within retail from various brands like Pottery Barn, Levi Strauss, True Religion, Red Envelope, some catalog brands back in the day, of just having a passion about having a customer experience be really engaged and having the data to be able to understand what people are responding to. And I really love that formula. I kind of moved up through the ranks with direct to consumer. Started in catalog, ended up being websites, and I've kind of evolved from there into business strategy for the last few brands.
Nice. There are brands that have a mission, and then there are brands that have a mission, and then there's Patagonia, and you guys kind of almost stand alone in how you look at a lot of these things, including how are you driving conservation forward and at the same time, high performance gear. You don't see that a lot at the same time. And when we met in LA, you were at one of our dinners, and this whole idea of how do you create like a PDP of one-to-one? You said it so much better, but basically, we're kind of living the dark ages of like trying to communicate to Alex Honnold and some hobbyists like myself on the same page, but you should be able to do that at some level and just personalize it. Let's dive into that because I think that's a really cool topic. How are you guys thinking about it over at Patagonia?
Well, it's a challenge that's unique to Patagonia, but it's not that unique to Patagonia in a way. I think I had the same challenge at a Levi Strauss, and that's just a denim brand that sells amazing apparel. And at Patagonia in particular, you could have one person looking for, let's take our most popular jacket, the Nano Puffs. A lot of people buy that jacket who just live in urban environments. They want to know that it's lightweight. They can ball it up, show it in their suitcase, going to keep them warm. And you'll probably have it for 10 years and it'll look just as good 10 years from now as when the day that you bought it. And so some people are willing to pay the price for that premium item for that purpose alone. But then it was intentionally designed to solve a problem for those people who are going deep into sport and deep into environments where the lightweightness is so that you have something that's packable and breathable while you're wearing it. It's something you can layer on other layers. You can put a shell over it when it's raining and you know that you still have room to move and to be comfortable and be breathable. So all of that technology that went into that item for that extreme environment, but then also for the day wear, like how do you serve both those customers who are landing on the same page? And so what people solve for that now is maybe clunky tabs where like I can click to learn more or whatever that might be. And to me, whenever I think about personalization, when I came into the brand, I was like, how do you flip that on your head? How do you make it interactive and dynamic so that if you know what, I've been on Reddit, I found the color, I want the zip up, I want the pullover, I'm just going to go in and buy it. I don't know what fill rate means. I don't know what moisture wicking, like, I just know I want that, I'm in and I'm out. But then somebody else is like, "No, I know I'm gonna be in Jackson Hole and I need something in particular and I need the fill rate to be this thing," that there's a place for me to find that. And as I'm interacting or looking on the page can serve up these sorts of bits of information for me or allow me to go deeper down the rabbit hole and not just divert the other person who might not wanna see all that stuff. To me, that's the ultimate prize, and I find that it's one of those projects that the idea was probably ahead of the technology, and now the technology is catching up to the idea. So that's the part that's really exciting to me is that we absolutely can build these dynamic pages now that are responsive to click behavior, responsive to what we might know about you, past purchases, or what you've been interested in the past, to be able to serve up an experience that's really delivering on this personalized promise we've been here probably for 10 years, having a one-to-one or one of many experience. And so that's something we started to work towards in an ideation phase at the middle of last year. When we came up with the final product idea and concept, it blew everyone away. I mean, literally everyone on every aspect of the organization is rallying behind bringing this vision to life. So it's really exciting.
How does that work in a seamless way? Like, how are you and the team kind of putting that together? And how do you make sure you're making access to that data easy enough where it's not, because too many clicks, people are just going to bail. How do you
Absolutely.
make the access easy enough, but at the same time, not overwhelm the hobbyists?
There's a theory that if we know enough about you, maybe even before you get to the PDP, and I've been sold, technology solutions that do this. In 5 clicks, we can tell you if the person's a high intent converter or somebody that's going to need a coupon code, right? That doesn't really fit for our brand, but the intentionality does, right?
Mhm.
The idea that if I know that you've been to my site 2 times already, and maybe the first time you actually read an article or you watched a video about something, and the next time you did that, maybe then I can serve up content that might be storytelling that might intrigue you more than somebody who might not need that. And so we're building pages that are not completely built from top to bottom, that actually sort of layer in. We almost call them like surfaces, where surfaces kind of move around and add in information as you would potentially maybe scroll down the page. Another example of that would be we offer other services. So if you were to be signed in or if we were to do this on an app experience, we know you've owned that NanoPuff for 5 years. We might send you something like, hey, do you want to trade that in? Like maybe you just want to repair the one that you had and you're looking to see if the new one's worth design. You might be like, actually, I just like the one I have. Do you need to repair that one? We can do a trade in for you and help you, service that and add it to the circularity pool. So I think those sorts of those ideas are the things that we're thinking about. And we started to bring some of that stuff in front of the customer now. So if you go to our PDP now, you'll see a new product and used product on the same page. And for some brands that do circularity, they were like, that's the last thing I want to do. Because what if I trade someone down to a used product when they might have been intended to buy new? For Patagonia's rules and regulations of how we're trying to build a brand, if they trade down to something used, we're winning. Because we don't want people to buy something that they don't need. Or if there's something that's already made, that's better for us and it's better for the environment than buying something completely brand new. So we're fearless about being able to put those two side by side. And it's been really interesting to learn how people are interacting with those two things next to each other.
Is it right to think of this more as a kind of site experience or customer journey problem, and now there's just new tech available to you, or are you guys looking at this more as like a tech problem to solve something?
Yeah, I really see it as a customer journey challenge to solve because I'm always thinking about the customer experience first and foremost. And not to diminish anyone who's coming from a tech background or approaching something from a technical solutions perspective. But I think that it's really critical to think about that customers, by the time they've gotten to your webpage, they probably already had some sort of brand experience. And a touch point or a journey is not a linear thing. They've connected with the brand through social. Maybe they've been in a store. Maybe they've signed up for email, or maybe you just read about it on Reddit. Now you've got an agent that's gonna like find this thing for you. There's all these different ways that people come into a brand, and I'm sure anyone who's running a digital platform will know less and less people go through the homepage more and more because of the way that we funnel people in through different channels. And so with that, if you're not thinking about all the different ways that a customer can connect with a brand and come into the brand and know that the PDP is IB maybe a starting point or an end point for them, you don't know, then that sort of contextualizes how you solve for those problems. And then you might be solving for different problems than I just want somebody to come in and buy something, transact, and exit out. And I think that, we've been talking about the marketing funnel. The marketing funnel is dissolved in a lot of ways, right? There's a sphere now. It's like atoms moving around in space. It's a very different dynamics.
But brings up a good point, because even like the way we're thinking about LogRocket here is it used to be, right, you want to see people like, are they using this feature? How much time are they spending in analytics? How many charts are they doing? And now it's much more around, with kind of the kind of agentic capabilities we built in and the ability for those agents to watch all your sessions for you. Like the joke is basically like an MAU of 0 is the perfect
Yeah.
iteration, because we just want to send you the answer before you even have to ask it in Slack or Claude or wherever you work. And I feel like at some level almost that's always been true, right? Like the point of an e-commerce site or B2B analytics is not, and never was, to have people use the thing. It was to solve a problem. They needed clothes, they needed answers, and it just so happened that software was a good solution. But if the best solution was, I don't know, me to just bring you a t-shirt, that was, maybe that was a better way.
I always worked for brands who had a high level of customer service. As a customer, I value that. I value going into a brand who thinks about me, who I feel like they care about me as a customer. That's what I want to spend my money with.
Mhm.
So I walk into a brand like Patagonia, it's high touch in the store experience. You can come in with any question, anything. A lot of things are happening in the store. It's a community center on a lot of levels. And I challenge myself of like, how do I bring that experience into the digital experience? So that's sort of why I sort of think about these things more of like it's about the customer experience and the customer journey, because that's a high bar. I mean, that's why I joined. I like those really tough challenges to solve for. And so it's exciting time because I feel like the technology is getting to a place where I'll probably never be 100% as you walk into a store and meet, someone who's worked there for 10 years and they're a climber and you're talking about climbing, but I can get pretty close. I'll be able to get pretty close, I think, in the next 3 to 4 years. So
You're not free soloing El Capitan or anything anytime soon.
not me personally.
But kind of back to this idea, I guess, like because I love the idea of like, right, personalized experiences on them, because that's what makes going to stores so good, is you can talk to someone, they can be like, oh, well, I understand you and this and that,
Yeah.
and here's what you need. You don't need that. You're going to pay too much, or maybe, hey, if you use that clip, you should really use something stronger. But at the web level, how are you and the team balancing that versus you could really LLM this whole thing up and AI out the wazoo, but at some point you're going to be sitting there, and as you scroll, right, because you said it's kind of component pieces, you're just going to hit a point where you're just waiting and waiting because it has to like calculate and refine.
Mhm.
How do you balance? It's not in person, right? In person, you can kind of look at something for a second, someone walks over to you, you have the whole world going on about you, versus online, we've all been
Yeah.
trained to like instant.
And
So
right.
how is that balanced out in this project?
That's a really great question. Definitely when we presented it to the board, it was definitely something that someone challenged. Someone was very specific, like, well, what if I don't care about all this storytelling and all this stuff? I just want to buy the product. And so we had to reiterate to them that you wouldn't get this other stuff unless you are showing signals that you actually want to be engaged with something. So if you're a person who's like, I've done all my research, I've been trying to think about this, most are, especially outerwear is more considered purchase for a lot of people. Okay, I'm ready to pull the trigger. I'm ready to buy it. Get out of my way. As much as I care about the customer experience, I also don't want to get in your way when you're ready to give us your money. So I want to make that part as seamless and smooth as possible. It's a lot of test and learning. And that's one of the things I really love about digital as well, is that I don't think we really know the full answer until we launch the thing and we test the thing and get customer feedback. And I'm fortunate enough to work with amazing, talented people who are going to do the customer research as we build and test things and get that feedback. And then sometimes we have to make tough calls. Like we redid our navigation and, it's the polar opposite of what leadership probably would have wanted our navigation to look like. We had a lot of conversations about, do we lead people down into the sport path first versus, the type of product category you want, which aligns with Patagonia's brand values and our mission and what we want our customers to experience. But the reality is that's not how our customers want to engage with the product, right? So instead of trying to, battle leadership, let's just test it and have the customer tell us what works best. That's old school 101 merchandising, right? And it still works today. I think in all of the things we can get really caught up in the newest, latest thing and want to immerse into, you spend our money, those things. And sometimes it's just the basics that really ground you and being able to decide where your next moves are and what to do next.
A thing that people often overlook, and you talked about this when we first met, was you didn't walk into Patagonia with all this stuff tied up and ready to go with these giant projects. Like you have to at some level walk a little bit before you run. And the first step is not Angela comes in and goes, we're going to change navigation. We're going to change the PDP. You got to get your ducks in a row a bit. And you got to build towards that kind of thing. Can we talk about this piece? Because I think that people miss this piece a lot, and it
It,
really is important to go over.
it is really important. And it's interesting because when I landed the role, it was a newly created role for digital. And I knew from my recruiter that I didn't come from the scale of brands that the other two candidates came from. So I thought I was like the lead. Like I was like, there's no way I'm gonna land this job. And that wasn't self-deprecating. That was just like, oh, they've got all this pedigree and he's bigger, I work for much bigger volumes and all these things. But once I got the job, I realized why I won the role. And it was because exactly what you said. Like I was going to take the time to be methodical and not just burn everything down to the ground and build it back up again. I wanted to understand, how do we get to where we are? And then what are the steps to get us to the next thing? And so the thing that I kind of had to learn through my journey there is patience, honestly, because I did want to move faster. I had worked for other brands that moved a lot faster. I did one pagers for big ideas with my previous CEO. And he just looked at it. He was a math person. The math made sense. Go, right? There was no meetings and all these things. And Patagonia was pretty much the opposite of it. And so there was a lot of time of one, I had to make a lot of assessments about where were we? Where are the pain points? The people who are doing the day-to-day, like for instance, in some of the big projects, we're talking about launching a new loyalty program, rebranded as a membership program, launching an app, changing the digital experience from the PDP all the way to the homepage. All of that, if I'd started those projects without understanding that we had to clean the data first, that we had to make sure we were capturing first-party data in a way that was useful for us, that I understood how teams were working and understanding that they were working too manual and that there's no way we could support dynamic pages, information, messaging if people had to do things still in a highly manual way. So that meant I had to fix some of those things and put people on a path to follow some of those other hurdles that we had to undo in order to build the bigger picture. Now, the fun part about all that is, how do you appease leadership who wants to see the bright, shiny thing happen quickly, knowing that all this back end work has to be done in the meantime? And so that, again, to me, is where I call the outward science of what's the shiny object I can give them, and so that they're off my back and they see progress, because a lot of the big, heavy lifting and progress work is not something that I can't really put an ROI on, clean customer data. The CEO is not going to care about that. All he knows is the end result. So a lot of times I would kind of take like, this is a project I'm working on, and what I'm going to get out of it is this, because that's what leadership really cares about. Does it meet our mission of what we're trying to do? What's the impact? And for a lot of times, especially at Patagonia, an ROI metric is not enough. And you really need to talk about like, how are we improving the customer experience? How is this meeting the bigger mission of the brand overall? And so I know that if you don't do some of that work and you just come in with a big shiny project, I've seen it. I've watched people do it. They go full steam ahead and then they haven't looked around all the corners and checked all the closets, and then it crashes and burns and millions of dollars gets wasted all the time. I've watched it over the years. And so I think a lot of people in my type of roles now, the stakes are so high. These new implementations cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of time and energy. It's not just the dollars of building it or the software. It's the time, it's the human resources that go behind launching these major things. And if you go down that huge path and it doesn't work, depending on the brand, you might not have a job anymore. And so you don't want to work in a place of fear, but you also want to make sure that you've set yourself up with enough success possible where you've done the work. And sometimes it feels you're just spinning your wheels, or maybe you're not moving fast enough for yourself. But I've always valued it in the end, and it has worked out for me in the long run because now, like I said, now that we've birthed this huge idea, there's still some places we have to fix. It's not perfect, but 80% of the work is already done, right?
I love leadership everywhere, but they always want the big shiny thing because that's, I think a lot of times just they're high enough up where the smaller details are obfuscated from them. Often they don't
Mhm.
always even just have visibility into the complexity that makes the thing
Yeah.
work. Were you able to just communicate to do this big thing? We need to do these five small things, or what was the kind of communication there?
I think one of the things I really work towards is like trying to anticipate what the blockers are ahead of time, either from people, from process. And then once I kind of have an idea about that, then I'll build a plan on either how to dissolve those blockers or work around them. And a lot of times it's not just me. A lot of times I need partners. I really am a big believer in having multiple advocates for something that you're trying to achieve. So hopefully you're in an environment where you can connect with the key people, like this project in particular. Like I had to connect with the head of digital analytics for the greater Patagonia org. Like, what's on his roadmap? And then once he knows what's on my roadmap, well, we can sort of align our two roadmaps together. Like, make sure his project is going to align and I can build on top of his. It impacted, other multiple teams. And the more time I kind of would paint a picture for them before I started to put that in front of leadership, then when they heard about it, one, there's no resistance, there's no shock. They're like, oh, yeah. And by the way, they can start championing for it for you because there's a partnership here, there's a connection there. So that to me is one of the big things. It's like making sure you're understanding leadership's pain points, figuring out how to solve for that with what your project is. And then on the other side is really from the tech itself is like, where does this project fall in line with all the other projects that might be happening? Retail's one of those industries where there's not a lot of huge budget for technology enhancements. So anytime you have something that's a multi-million dollar investment, those dollars usually have to come from somewhere that might already be earmarked for something else, right? Like that's the reality of it. So to not create a bunch of enemies with the organization, you kind of need to build those partnerships and like, okay, let's, think about that. And, some brands I think do a better job of like looking at the big picture of everything and sort of making sure everyone's understanding how things are stack ranked. Patagonia is not one of those companies. So a lot of times, you don't want to feel like people are in the Hunger Games all trying to jockey for the same dollars. So the more people can kind of understand what you're trying to achieve and how this all fits together, I think the better that project's going to work for you.
When we met in LA, you had also brought up another project around kind of Patagonia redefining customer value. I know this is not a project that you just on your own were like, we're going to redefine how we calculate value, guys. How do you go about, approaching the head of analytics or kind of handling, some of these other heads of teams, come to that common understanding of we all believe in this thing, we're going to champion it so we can get something like a different definition of customer value through kind of across the board?
Wholeheartedly believe that we can always win together. And so that's how I approach pretty much everything. I've never been an adversary with cross-functional people and peers. It's just part of the nature of digital, how digital operates. And I think that's been one of my, factors of success. And I think it's something that a lot of brands, even brands that aren't mission-based, are going to start to explore is, like you said, customers are interacting with brands for a multitude of reasons. We're seeing brands start their own entertainment arms. The future world is getting more and more complex. And so if you're building your own entertainment arm or storytelling arm to a brand that never told stories before, how are you going to measure if that actually adds any value? And so for Patagonia, there's three arms. We have the activism arms. We want people to get involved, help clean up the environment. We want people to donate to causes that we think are important to saving the home planet. We want people to engage in product, either buying product, returning products, trading in products. We want people to engage with other brands. We have a food brand, we have an apparel brand, we have a kids brand, we have all these different elements of the brand in the fashion of don't buy this jacket, which is probably the most impactful campaign Patagonia's ever done. it would be hypocritical for us to only look at a conventional lifetime value metric to say if someone is added value to the brand or not by just looking at what their transactions were. So we started to look at like real customer behavior to start to build what the index could actually look like. So we basically create our own Patagonia index. And what the real customer behavior showed us was that there's some people who only buy used product from us. They only buy used product from us. They could be just as valuable to us, how we define value, as somebody who only buys new product. There's some people who only engage in activism. They only care about our causes, and they want to participate, and they want to go to book signing at a store or see a film, and they're never going to buy a product from us, or they haven't bought a product from us yet. And what we found is the customers who kind of engage in a little bit of everything are probably the people that we want to have more of those types of customers because they do add value from a revenue perspective, from an engagement perspective, from an impact perspective. So let's build metrics that we're looking at all those different elements, built after real customer models to see how we can enrich their lives and how they can enrich Patagonia in the same way. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And we really truly want people to further our mission, which the first mission is save the home planet. And that's legit. That's not a marketing ploy. Like that's legitimate. A lot of people come to us for winter apparel on winters outside of what's been going on the East Coast this year. Winter has been seeming to be less and less intense. So we were looking at like, do we need more lightweight product? Do we need more summer type product as the climate continues to change? And again, in service of the customer.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's one other thing I want to make sure we touched on because you have had a really impressive career through a tremendous number of fashion brands, but you also consult with a lot of other companies outside of Patagonia. And there's like this FOMO problem around AI. And it's funny because like this is the quiet thing that no one will say out loud is they're all just some level of either confused as all get out about how you keep up, or they've just completely burned themselves out trying to keep up. And I thought you had a really good take on this. So if I'm someone in that role and I just feel like I'm losing my mind trying to keep up, what do I do? How do I keep my sanity and continue to get to have a job?
Yeah. I think the thing that's probably a little bit of a myth, and I'll speak about retail in particular because that's my industry that I know the most about, is that everybody's got it figured out and everybody's moving fast towards these things. And I think the reality is, as you talk to other people and other peers, is that I'd rather move slow and methodical and land it as best as possible than move and iterate really fast. I've worked in both environments. I've worked in companies where they said, build a plane as you're flying it. And that's great for some people. And I've lived the chaos of that type of environment where you start launching that plane and then you spend the next 4 times as much time fixing the thing because you launched too quickly, right? And I'm too old to continue to do that. So people want to be in an environment where I can understand, just stay as educated as you can, read the articles, talk to people, find those experts that really intrigue you and speak to you and keep abreast of it. And I think everybody's trying to learn on their own terms. But at the same time, what we were hearing is that board members are like, we got to be investing in AI, or why aren't we using AI? And there's this screaming from the rooftops. They don't even know what they're asking for. And nothing against them, but a lot of times they just want to know you're doing the thing, you're not going to be left behind. And the reality is most people are moving a little more slowly than you might actually realize. So the left behind thing is probably a little more of a fear tactic than the reality. That doesn't mean you can't sit still. I will say there's definitely a feeling of pressure, especially for a brand like Patagonia, because we don't move fast as an organization. We're not early adopters to technology. The leadership team, for the most part, is pretty fearful about, technology when it deals with customer interaction. When it comes to physical product, they're always on the leading edge. But when it comes to the customer, it's a completely different mindset. And so it's trying to find that balance and know like what really makes the most sense for my brand and sort of lean into those things and then just have open conversation. I think it's really important that you build that trust. If you've got that pressure coming down from leadership, they're like, why aren't we doing this? Or how come we're not doing that? And you can, take the time to educate them on what you are doing and what you're trying to achieve and why there are some things that like you don't want to move too fast, or dollars and cents talks to a lot of people, right? Like we could go full steam into this and we could burn through a lot of cash. And on the other side of it, look back and say like, what did we just spend a year and a half doing? And so I think that that to me is the thing that I hold on to and I talk to my team a lot about is as I talk to people, a lot of people are still in the figure out stage.
We found a lot of product folks are on LinkedIn quite a bit. And there is an element of everyone, I think, is showcasing the thing that they're really far ahead on. And
Yeah.
especially in the AI world, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, maybe some people exaggerating slightly on what they have accomplished in AI. I am skeptical of the number of people who have gotten rid of their $500,000 marketing team and replaced it with a single agent that does everything. I don't know. I haven't seen that yet, but it's very easy to read all that and get caught up in the hype and go like, I'm so far behind. I need to keep up with every single thing. Like Claude is, Anthropic's coming out with what, like 4 new features a day. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Like software has only recently become the best way to solve this problem. In the end, like if you're in retail, you're selling clothes. The mission is get clothes
Yeah.
from a warehouse to someone's body. And all of us have the kind of sharp problem we're solving. And some of these things may be useful. They probably will be, almost definitely, but I really
Yeah.
don't think it's in every quarter of the world moving as quickly. I have multiple friends who are software developers who don't even think about AI. And they're software developers, let
Right.
alone, I think it's easy to get caught with an echo chamber. So give yourself the room to like be okay and then go through it and figure out like how you apply the bits you see to solving your sharp problem.
Yeah. I have a pretty controversial statement to make on that.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I love it. Let's do it.
I think a lot of headlines are saying that brands are letting go of people because they have these AI tools to replace all these human beings. And I think it's honestly just an excuse to get rid of people. They would be laying off people regardless. And they're just using AI as an excuse to say that they're doing that. But you're right. I think in a lot of cases, there are some exceptions, but I think in a lot of cases, we haven't figured it out yet. I do think the statement of the people who are going to win in the long run are people who figure out how to use AI effectively to help them be more efficient in their work. I believe that statement, but in a lot of spaces, it's going to take time before we get to a place where, like you said, you're replacing all these marketing teams. We're already overwhelmed by all this AI slop that we've got. Like, just a perfect word because you see it now, and it's just like media has changed like 180 degrees, where it was kind of like you believed what you saw, and the first thing you do now is you question everything, right?
Right.
And that happened in a span of less than 12
Yeah.
months, honestly. So
That's how you and I met. Is one of the things we came back to was human interaction is going to be more important than ever. And how do we bring together people and
yeah,
actually have real human conversation? And from what I can tell, this is not a AI projection of Angela, but the real Angela. So continue to do that. But yeah, to your point, the companies I see where I've actually worked deeply with team members there, and I know really well the success they're having and how they're innovating and using AI to kind of move faster and move better. None of them are doing layoffs. Trust me. Like the ones I see doing really, really well, they're hiring really quick. They're not
yeah.
laying anyone off. And I can vouch for some of the things I see them do. And so I don't know. Like I said, I think I follow on your side on that one. All right. I think we covered a lot here today. We got to get you back to the mission of saving home planet. And I got to get back to helping companies create digital experiences. But it was great to see you again. I'm glad this worked out. We were able to catch up again. Hopefully I'll see you next time in LA. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. This was fun.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a fun conversation.
All right. Have a good rest of the day, Angela. See you soon.
Okay, you too.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye.
bye.